This project is no longer free. I want to start by saying at the end of this video, or the end of this series, I was going to talk about all the price that actually went into this. No matter if you get all your materials used or recycled or whatever, there's still a price that goes into it, whether it be your time or the finish on the wood. There's going to be some sort of price that goes into it, especially your time. You're never going to be able to make something and not put the price of your time in there. Time is the most precious thing too. So if you think, oh, my time's not even worth anything, I'm not going to count that. Your time is worth so much. Anyway, this project is ruined. I'm just joking. So what happened is I realized that all that structural angle iron that I was going to use for the base to make the base essentially free, come to find out it is way too big and I don't have enough of it anyway. So I'm headed to the metal supplier to hopefully get some 2x2 inch angle iron, maybe an 1/8 inch thick, and then I'm going to get enough of that to do the base, and I'm going to do some extra little pieces on the bottom with maybe 1x1 angle iron, probably not an 1/8 inch thick, maybe something a little thinner like a 1/16. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I hope y'all enjoy this video. This is the final video of the series. At the end of this video, you will see what this table looks like all put together, and I will go over some of the costs that went into making this. Thank y'all for watching. Alright y'all, I ended up getting metal for free. So this place was closed when they weren't supposed to be, so I stayed there for about an hour. And finally a guy showed up, and he told me that they don't really sell metal anymore. They do fabrication instead for gates and fences. So what I did was I talked to the guy a little bit, and he gave me this entire stick of angle iron completely for free. So as of right now, on the basic level, I'm still making this table for free, which is real cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into the pieces that I need, get the base of this table welded, and I may even use that real thick structural angle iron in this table as well. Alright y'all, as you can see, I got my marks lined out, and I'm going to cut them, and I'll have this top base of the table cut. After that, I will be doing the legs out of heavier and thicker angle iron, structural angle iron. I think it's going to look better too. I have the sides cut, I have the long pieces cut. This is scrap. That was a pretty good sized piece of metal. I got to use a lot of it. Now I'm going to weld these together. Well, I got to miter them first, get them at a 45. Weld them together, and then I'm going to do the legs. It'll be a real simple base, but I think it'll go good with this table. I'm going to paint it black. Now here's the reason I'm doing a base this simple. First of all, materials. Second of all, this top is so complex. If I were to do a complex base, it would just be so much clashing together. I don't think it would look good that way. I want to have a nice, clean base, nice and simple and clean, with a detailed, beautiful wooden top, and that's what I'm going for. Alright y'all, I got my angles colored on, just like this. I want to show y'all something. This right here is a weld symbol, or it's a symbol we use in welding, not necessarily a weld symbol, but that shows that I will cut on that side where the square is. I'll cut on the side of the square of that line. That means that this line might be a little bit off. Maybe I designed it like that way specific, but that line shows me that when I cut this, I can't be on it and I can't be on this side. I need to be on the side of the square to cut. I have it tacked together. I'm gonna make sure it's all squared up before I do anything else. Now, how I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna put the angle on each side, make sure the angle fits square. But since this is so long, I'm gonna have to do it a second check as well. And I'll be doing that with my tape measure. And I'll be measuring from that corner to this corner, finding, let's say that's 20. Then I'll go from that corner to that corner. They both need to equal 20 in order for it to be square. Once it's square, I'll weld it out, and then I'll put the legs on, drill some holes, and then I'll have it for the tabletop when the table's done. I welded those sides, I forgot to video that, and I put this in the middle while I did that to protect it from any bowing. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break that slag off. Look at the welds, because I like to do that. I'm gonna weld up the outsides. I'm not gonna weld the opposite side of this because that's where it's going to be pushed up against the table. There's no reason to weld it. All it would do is make it a rougher fit. I want it to be as flush as possible to that table. I do wanna be fully transparent. The measurements did change a little bit when I welded that. They're gonna fix themselves a little bit whenever I weld a little bit more on it, but I will say you gotta keep that in mind when you're welding something like this. Now, it didn't move enough to change how it's gonna look on the tabletop, but I do wanna let y'all know that's something you need to keep in mind. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just doing some finishing welding on this base frame, and then after that, I will be moving on to the legs. Here we go. It's all welded together. It looks good. I didn't get to video that because my phone was gonna die, so I'm sorry for that. Let me show you this really cool bucket I made. This bucket has cutouts in the side where you can put your electrodes. The smaller ones are good for if you have about half of your electrode used, you can put it in there. Know that you can still use it if you need to. The bigger ones are for full electrodes, and when you're done with them, you can throw them in the bottom. This is very useful. I used it on a structural job once, hung it up on an I-beam. Worked great. Keeps the job tidy for the most part, and it's just great. Here's the table. I'm gonna clean up all the welds, grind them down, make them look real nice. Maybe even put a cap on, and if he wants the welds to show, I'm not sure. And then I'm gonna put the tabletop on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill some holes in the sides with a 1/8 inch metal drill bit, a drill bit for metal. And then I will put some little screws. I will put some epoxy on here, and then screws coming from the bottom to really secure this tabletop on. I think this is gonna look real good. I think it's simple, it's clean, it's not gonna take away from the top of the table, and it's all gonna fit together real nicely. I will be painting this black, and I'll show y'all what it looks like when I finish. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm doing the final welds. I grinded down the welds I'd already done, just because I didn't think they were pretty enough for this table. So I grinded them down, and now I'm welding the final weld, which I will be painting over and making this base look amazing. I got all the spots welded. They look real good. Still got a little bit of cleanup to do. And then I'm going to, as you can see, I drilled some holes for the screws to go in. I'm gonna put some epoxy over it, then put the screws in to the table. But I'm gonna paint this black first. But I gotta clean it before I paint it. All right, y'all, as you can see, I got it all painted black. I didn't sand down the welds. And I wanna tell you something funny. So whenever I was doing the wood part, I kept calling the sanding grinding because I'm so used to metal work. And now that I did all that woodwork, I just said that I didn't sand the weld down. That's funny. Anyway, I didn't weld the grind down. I didn't grind the welds down. And that's because this customer typically likes the welds to show. He likes them. He thinks they add character. He's a cool guy like that. Anyway, I didn't weld these gaps up here That's because that's where the tabletop is gonna sit. So nobody's gonna see that anyway, and it would make it not flush. I'm gonna wait for this to dry. Once it dries, I'm gonna make sure the table sits on it where I want it to. The tabletop sits on it where I want it to, and then after that, I will assemble it, and I'll show you all the final product. All right, I have the table base set on the piece of wood, or sorry, the tabletop, and it's not measured out yet, it's not centered. I'm gonna do that now, and then I'll make sure that it's all nice and right, and then I'll get it secured on the board. I have the tabletop on the base. I got it screwed in the best I could and epoxied in the best I could. Now what I have is weights on top of a taken apart fishing rod holder holding down this. That looks like the weights are under. It's because there's another piece under the weights on top, and then that piece is just slightly heavy enough to just me to put it on there just in case. Theoretically, this should give it a good bond, and then I'll flip it over and show you all the finished product. Here's the finished table. There's a look at the underneath side. I think it looks real good. I think it might be a little short, but that's what he said he wanted the size to be, and he is the customer. So here's the finished product. Thank y'all all for watching. What's up, y'all? I just want to tell y'all why I said that orders have now been stopped. I've just filled out all the rest of my orders that I can do before I leave. I will be leaving to Colorado for 5 to 6 months to do a welding job there, and I won't be able to fill out orders because I'll be working all day long, every day, 7 days a week. So I figured I'd let y'all know that. I will resume orders when I get back from Colorado, but I'm not exactly sure when that'll be right now. As of right now, the last day on the job is April 15th, but they're working on extending the job site, so I'm not sure exactly when, but I will be back making orders sometime in the future. So if you do want something made, just keep it in mind. Thank you.